connecting to a lot of different places. So there we go. There we go. Close this and start recording. Okay, start recording. All right, here we go. Yahoo, we did it. It's technology is always like, what do we do with it? So we are celebrating today. How many of you have your books up and able to hold them up and share them? Pretty cool books, huh? Yay, awesome, wonderful. Well, it's a celebration. I'm really thankful to have had the opportunity to work with all of you on this book series. And actually, this is the 7th out of the 8 that I've done. I've done 7 out of the 8 that Iman has spearheaded, and that is about 160 people. So that's really cool. So we're today want to just have this wonderful conversation about why is it, I'm hearing myself, I think a little echo. Why is it that you decided to participate in this and what the name of your chapter is? And we'll start with you, Wendy.
So it is so great to be here with you, Becky, and with all these fabulous authors. Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be part of this great collaboration. So the name of my chapter is My Journey from a Rocky Relationship to Lasting Love. And I wanted to be part of this because, well, I want to help more people find lasting love without having to go through any more rocky relationships. So I know there's a lot of people out there who could use support.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. I was a single mom for 20 years, and when I decided, okay, I'm brave enough to try this again, I found a magnificent man through Match.com.
Wonderful. I'm happy to hear that.
Thank you. Richard, why is it echoing? What is the name of your chapter, and why did you decide to participate?
Oh, the name of my chapter is When Chance Encounters Teach Valuable Lessons. And I wanted to share it because I have a love of ballroom and Latin dancing, and I wanted to share that love and how that actually helps people, get in tune with their life and create, relaxation and enjoyment.
Beautiful, awesome. How did it impact you to be able to share in this project and to actually put pen to paper and write it?
It was quite an interesting exercise to get this into a chapter format, to be able to share it in this format. So.
Beautiful. How about for you, Janice?
Well, this is the first time that I have participated in being an author in a book that someone might actually read. Since otherwise I just published my master's thesis, which is not as much fun.
No,
so it's been wonderful to participate, to have an editor, to have a publisher. Becky's awesome, and then to get to know some of these beautiful faces in this community. And to grow along with them. So my chapter is called The Grit to Quit. And it is timely because I went through a big career transition this year. And so I just wanted people to know that there are those of us who are, in the world just like them, going through, making big decisions every day, that it's not just about getting all those happy ending highlight stories, that there's more to life than the happy ending. We're all in process. So
life's a journey, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm happy to be here and be part of this process.
We are glad you are here too and part of this. Tanya, share your experience in the beginning of your chapter is.
Yes. So I actually didn't start off wanting to be in the book, quite frankly. I participated in a weekend workshop that Iman did, and part of the process was to write our story. And I didn't even intend to write this story that I ended up putting in the book, but it just wouldn't let me go. I couldn't get beyond it. So obviously I needed some more processing around it. And as I was working through it, I just really felt that the messages that I have in my chapter are just going to be so key for people. So that's why I ended up participating in the book. It's really more about leaving an impact versus anything really having to do with me.
Very
And
good.
my chapter title, my chapter title is Forgiveness and Gratitude, Emotional Intelligence Superpowers. And oftentimes when people talk about emotional intelligence, these two topics of forgiveness and gratitude is not part of it, but I really feel that it is so key. And from this, I'm actually going to be starting a gratitude movement as well. So I'm really excited about that. With
That
both.
is wonderful, wonderful. Congratulations. All
Thank
right,
you.
thank you. Amber.
Hi, Becky.
Hello.
Hi. So my chapter is called "Is Saying Yes Making You Play Small?" And it's really for all the women out there who are either people pleasers or want to avoid conflict, that they think yes is the path to either getting ahead at work, either getting that corner office or getting the promotion, or in their personal lives, maybe it's the way to gain approval from people or to avoid conflict. So they're saying yes to everyone and everything except for themselves. And in the process, they're getting overwhelmed, burdened, resentful, burned out, and are just a shell of themselves. And so when we learn to say yes to the right things and no to the things that don't serve us, that's when we can start making those changes in our lives to really lift ourselves up and have the success that we're looking for.
Beautiful. And I think we've all had that journey where maybe we didn't want to stand up, and it's easier not to fight all those little things, or not to buck the tide, so to speak, and yet you're so right. It's so when we can stand for ourselves and stand up and make a difference in the world, it truly makes a difference. So
It's funny.
Go ahead.
Sorry about that. I was going to say, it's funny in the moment. Yes, seems like the right thing, like it's the path of least resistance, but really it's more often than not the more difficult path.
Absolutely. So how did participating in writing this chapter and in this whole project and just the camaraderie that has come about from it too, how did that impact your life?
It was great. And so reading other people's chapters and learning more about them and their stories, and it's a great reminder that we are all so much more than the very brief encounters we have with each other. Everyone has a backstory. Everyone has experiences that shaped the people they are today.
Absolutely.
And to not be so quick to judgment. Sometimes we meet people and we think, oh, this person's like this or that person's like that. We don't know each other's stories. We don't know what not only happened to them 20 years ago, we don't know what happened to them last week. And so I think it's a good reminder to be kind, to be compassionate, to be accepting and open, and not be so quick to judgment. And for myself, it was the reason I started down this path is because my mom passed away. And as I wrote my chapter, it was really, I made an analogy of a cup that was, chipped and broken and cracked and had stains and whatnot. And going through the process of picking a new cup. And we all have those moments in life. They're spurred by different challenges that are thrown our way, where we just really need to pause, take a moment, and find out what that next step is for us and be open to that change.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yes, and so many things. It's always that catalyst that makes us look at life just a little bit different. And one thing that Iman has always said, everyone is fighting a battle and that you know nothing about, so always be kind. And I feel like that is, I started, I was in one of the books way back when, and in all of those classes when he was first starting them out. And I've seen that every year being able to work with the authors. It's just been so interesting to read each story and the impact that it can make on getting out to and sharing the story. So Wendy, I wanted to ask you this question. Why is storytelling so important in today's world?
Oh, I think that's a great question. Without our stories, well, it wouldn't be nearly as interesting. The stories allow us to really connect with each other and to see that humanity. And through our stories, we can share our vulnerability, be real, make those connections so people can recognize that, oh, maybe I'm not alone. I'm not the only one dealing with this. I've been working with people for over 20 years, and I see a lot of similar stories, and many people think they're alone, and no, you're not alone. And so by sharing our stories with the world, we're engaging and entertaining, but we're also educating, and we're also letting people know that, hey, you know, here's what happened to me, and if something like this happened to you, you can get through it. We give people hope to,
Right.
To persevere, to not give up on their dreams and keep going for whatever it is they want. In my case, I want to help people to live a life you love with the love of your life. And I've been on this mission for a long time and helped a lot of people. And by sharing our stories, we can inspire and really, help people to reach their dreams.
Absolutely, absolutely. That it's interesting that I always think that storytelling kind of creates the basis, the solid foundation behind storytelling is that number one, you unite people. Number two, you serve as an advocate.
Yeah.
You serve as a truth teller because sometimes people don't know until the light of truth is put onto a situation. Maybe they think they're all alone and they don't know that there's anybody else that's ever gone through something like this, and they can't see the forest through the trees. So and the fourth pillar is being a way shower, showing that there is another way. So it's very powerful. What story do for us? How do you feel about storytelling, Janet?
Storytelling has been an important part of my life in more recent years. I didn't think of myself as creative because I'm not like a hands-on person who was good with painting or sewing or any of the things that other people around me were good at. My creation is inside my head. So it was when I just randomly ended up at a workshop that was empowering us to be storytellers, that then I was like, oh, this is actually where my creativity is, with words and stories and metaphors. And so I think that story is the language of the world. And so the best storytellers are the best listeners.
That's beautiful. Beautifully said. Thank you. Richard, storytelling, why is it important?
Well, I think in many cultures, the creation story starts with the word, and essentially, humanity, we're united by the idea of the story. And story allows us to share life experiences and allows us to, give insight as to, the life I've lived, and possibly give you some inspiration as to how you can live your life without having to go down the same pitfalls that I did, or possibly, take that leap from, the successes that I've had, and copy them. So stories really allow us to share our successes and avoid the pitfalls at times.
Beautifully said. Thank you. And for you, Tanya?
Yeah, so I mean, stories have been with us since the dawn of time, and it helps us relate to one another, but also there's often life lessons that we can gain from stories as well. And as Richard was just saying, we can learn from somebody else and their mistakes versus making all of the mistakes on our own. So that's one aspect of it as well. And I mean, it definitely makes us more relatable. Oftentimes when we see people out there doing the things that we would love to do or that we aspire to do, we see them at a level that's like way up here, but we don't see like all of the hard work, all of the challenges that they've had, the pitfalls, the disappointments. We see them up here, and we may be down here on our journey level. And so just being able to see, okay, what are the things that they have gone through? What are the challenges? To know that yes, we can get through them. And also, not everybody starts way up here. Everybody has their challenges, everybody has their journey. So it makes us all human, to where we can just have more grace with ourselves as we go through the process. Really, having grace with ourselves is so, so important. And stories allow us to do that. They allow us to share. And yeah, that's what I would say about storytelling.
Beautiful. So on the topic of leadership, I think that in our world today, leadership is key and paramount. It's a time for, as we stand as leaders, we have a ripple effect out to the world. So Amber, why we live in a world where if you watch the news, you're like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of bad things that are being announced. We don't often hear the good in the news, and yet we still live in an amazing world and a lot of good people. So why is leadership so important to you?
Well, this is something I briefly touched on in my chapter, in the fact that being a leader means you say no sometimes. And so many women in the workplace think, yes, 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 is that path to success. But the truth is, real leaders say no all the time. If it doesn't serve the mission, if it doesn't serve the purpose, if it doesn't serve the community, if it doesn't serve the country, leaders say no. And when we can start getting comfortable, especially as women, with what we perceive as that conflict, that, oh, they won't like me if I don't give them what they want, we will rise to more and more leadership roles, because leadership is about making those difficult decisions. And you're not going to make everyone happy in that moment, but you have to look to the greater good as a leader. And as women, we have so much wonderful things that we can bring to leadership. We have strength, but we also have compassion. Mm-hmm. And when we can balance that and bring true leadership to our communities, to our workplaces, to schools, to every area that we touch, and realize and own that leaderships make hard decisions, and sometimes that means saying no, we will continue to rise and take those leadership positions.
Beautiful. Very beautifully said. For you, Janice, why is leadership important?
Well, I think that we need leaders. So many people on the planet are comfortable being followers. And so we need strong leaders to guide us, to point us in a direction. And to me, leadership is all about kind of what Amber was saying. It's about not being popular. You know, a lot of people, they think that they're leaders because they're popular. But where are they going? So I think that that leadership is about being brave enough to make those bold, hard decisions that may not be popular.
Yes. You know, it's interesting because we may be leaders in certain aspects. It doesn't mean we're leaders in everything.
True.
And that's, and being able to enjoy the balance of that and let others lead and not always have to take that role, because we can't be all things. They're just impossible. You know, it's really important to have the beautiful balance mixed in there. For you, Richard, what's your take on leadership?
Oh, just building on what you're saying is like, yes, we can't be leaders in all things, but we do need to have that, you know, strengthening our own aspect of leadership in ourselves, so that we understand when we see leaders making decisions, we understand where they're coming from and how they're making the decisions, because most of these decisions are hard decisions. But if we can understand where leadership comes from and how to do it, and then we can really start understanding and identifying those leaders who are speaking from a standpoint of authenticity and honesty, we can really start to be able to cut through and see who the real leaders are and who the people are just trying to be popular or just be out there and get the attention. Because leadership isn't always about being at the front of the room. Sometimes you can lead from the back of the room.
Absolutely. And sometimes the support role is more important, more vital than thinking that we have to be in the limelight and always in the center point.
Yes.
Yeah. So for you, Tanya, how has technology changed your world, and why is it important in today's world?
Technology, is that what you asked?
Yes.
Okay. Oh boy. When I think of technology, I remember being right out of college and the fax machine was the newest technology. And it was such an amazing thing to have this piece of paper go into this machine and clear on the other side of the country or the other side of the world, it would show up, and I was just astounded by it. Since then, obviously, we've had much more advances in technology, and I think, you know, with the advent too of AI, artificial intelligence, and how it's affecting technology or work processes, so many different areas, that it really is key to stay on top of technology. I mean, it helps us do so many things, but there's also a dark side of it too, in that we can, you know, I just recall too that it was supposed to free us so much time, that we were supposed to have so much time back, and yet we're busier than ever. So, you know, I would just say with that to be careful and cautious of the time, but, you know, we can utilize technology to help us with business processes, to streamline, to automate, and do as much as we can from that perspective, so we can be more efficient, and hopefully with that level of efficiency, garner more time to be able to have a bigger impact in the ways that we're wanting to impact the world.
Beautiful. Yes, we live in a really, truly amazing time. You know, to think of what's happened in the last 100 years or so, and the vast changes. And when we think about, maybe go back to when COVID started, and it was for many people, it was the first time they ever used Zoom. And now it's a mainstay, you know, but it helped us to stay connected. And if COVID had happened to even 10 years before then, what would we have done? Because we didn't have the conveniences that we have today. So there's always the balance, and there's always and the blessing. And if things are used wrong, there's that aspect of it too. So in relationship to, for Wendy, in relationship to leadership, storytelling, and the technology that we have today, what is your take on the overarching blessing of it all?
Right. I'm putting it all together. Leadership, storytelling, technology. Well, I guess I was just thinking, I love our group here and all the wisdom that's being shared. So for me, well, long ago, I would lead workshops in person in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I used to print out flyers at Kinko's. And obviously, I'm not doing it that way anymore, although I will do the occasional in person. It's still nice to have that. But now I'm able to connect with people around the world, and in Australia and South America and Europe and Africa, and of course, all throughout North America. So that's amazing that it's like, you know, we're all connected, even on this call. I know we're all in different parts of the world, and here we are. So I don't know if I'm tying together leadership and storytelling. Okay, so that was a big question. Let's see. So, well, I guess, so as leaders, we can have more visibility. We can connect with more people. We can have a wider impact. We can be role models. And I think to be good leaders, we want to have empathy and compassion for everyone.
Right.
And I mean, and part of my mission in the work that I do is to help people to have compassion for themselves and for each other, and to communicate with clarity and compassion. So, I mean, that's hugely important for not only for our, you know, relationships with ourselves and with our loved ones, but with everyone that we're dealing with.
Very good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Amber, what's your take on that big great
I don't
question?
know, did I even hit all of it? I don't know.
Oh, I love this question. This is a great question. So technology. So we live in a world where everyone has smartphones stuck in their hands. They're scrolling. And as they're scrolling, they're comparing themselves. They're comparing themselves to the other stories that people are putting out there. The stories that are sanitized, the selfies that took 50 selfies to get that one perfect selfie, the vacation photos, which might look fabulous, but maybe the family didn't really have the money to pay for that, and they're racking up credit card debt. The stories that we see, and the majority of people are they're comparing themselves. Alexa, stop. Very sorry.
There's technology for you.
There we go.
Technology. So sorry about that. So we're comparing ourselves to others. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry.
There's our
Technology gets her way. She will not be shushed. So we're comparing ourselves to others as we scroll. And instead of, we should be looking to others, not for comparison, but for possibility. What's possible? So often someone will say, oh, this person is a leader in their field, or they're really crushing it in their business. Why aren't I? Are we started at the same time? Why are they further along on their journey? What we should instead be doing, instead of comparison, is looking to others for possibility.
Yes.
And that comparison should be with ourselves. How am I progressing? How am I learning? How am I growing? Where am I compared to where I was 6 months ago in my personal goals, in my professional goals? Where am I compared to where I was a year ago? Am I making these improvements? Am I showing this growth? Am I getting closer toward my goals? So when you put all those together and you look at technology and leadership and storytelling, we really do have to take a step back and realize the stories that people are telling casually in social media are likely not the real stories. But when you have folks who have written stories, such as in this book, real, authentic, gritty, hard, truthful stories, that's when we begin to connect. That's when we really begin to see others as they are and realize we're more alike than we are different.
Absolutely. And doesn't it make us go within, you know, really, really search inside. How am I reacting in the world? How am I showing up? And what other ways can I, just take to heart the stories of others and learn from it, rather than think, well, look at them, they're doing so much better, or whatever our reaction is. But really, where we can get those nuggets and nuggets of growth, self-growth that can come our way. Yes. And Tanya, for you, what's that big, your answer to that big question?
I'm combining all three of them. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, I would just have to piggyback onto what Amber was just sharing around that, because it can be easy to, look at the outside of somebody, the facade that, people have, and make judgments around that they are this and I am this in comparison. And so, again, just really having grace with that as it relates to leadership. I don't see leadership as a title. I
Mm.
see it as a role, and that can be with wherever we are in life. Any position that we have, any role that we play, it's not a title. It's what we embody, what's within us, and what we put out in the world. I mean, you can be really at any level of life and embody leadership, and people will see you as your authentic self, and they will either respect or not respect who you are being in the world. And so, how can we as a whole be able to uplevel ourselves? There's so much going on in the world today, and it can be really easy to get mired down into, all of this stuff that's out there. But how can we be the light? How can we be the example to set forth and try to lift others up instead of tearing people down? I see so much of that, and think it really kind of took a life of its own during the pandemic. I just saw so many people on social media just spiraling down, and there was a period of time that I would do these Facebook posts about which I actually touch on in my chapter about micro delights of even looking for the smallest, littlest thing that we can be grateful for. The smallest thing that can lift our hearts, and put that out in the world, and encourage one another, be there for one another. And so, and part of it can be through storytelling. Leadership definitely comes into that, because if we can be the light for others, that is showing leadership out in the world and having a positive impact in the world as well. And technology allows us to be able to do that, as we discussed, being able to connect through Zoom if we're not able to do it in person. Certainly technology has its place. And so all of those is how I would wrap that all up together.
And look at all the online courses and everything that we can do now, whereas these things were not available at one point. In even the publishing of this book, within days after it's actually uploaded, you can have it in your hands. When would that have happened? In the past. So it's really,
yeah, and that's so very cool too. And just even the resources that we put together in this book, like I know a number of us have created videos, and I personally have created some additional resources that people will have access to with the QR codes that we have at the end of our chapters. And so even having the QR code in the book, because I never really saw that in other books, I'm like, oh my gosh, how cool is that? We can add a QR code and add additional, thoughts that we can share with others, so people can really get to know all of us too at a different level than they otherwise would of just reading our chapters. Like, they get to see an actual video of us speaking and relating to them. And so, that's just such a beautiful thing with technology from that perspective as well.
absolutely beautiful tools that are right at our disposal, and it's all about balance. So Janice, what would be, and as we conclude this conversation, what would be your one wish for the world, that you one sweet message that you would like to share?
The one message that I would share is that this is a beautiful world that we have the privilege to be part of for this short time that we're on the planet. And I think it's easy to get distracted by all of the problems that might come up from day to day, or that the news, for something to be newsworthy means that it is bad. That's because we have this magnificent world, and it is meant for us to enjoy. So, so that's my message, is to appreciate the beauty and have some fun.
Beautiful. Wow, that is awesome. For you, Richard.
Well, one of the things I wanted to share was the idea that, I hear a lot of people say that, I never get that opportunity that you got, or, you just lucked into something. And I find that so often we don't pay attention to what opportunities that are there. So, stop for a second and, maybe ask a question to someone that's passing you by. Just strike up a conversation. You never know where the next opportunity lies, and just being open to what's available, as opposed to just rushing through life and worrying about the next thing on your agenda. Just stop and enjoy what's happening at the moment.
Absolutely beautiful. And sometimes it's all that's needed is a smile. Sharing a smile with someone else. Wendy, what's your last message?
Well, I would say that regardless of your age, your circumstances, or your location, you can pursue your dreams. You can live a life that you love, and you can have the love of your life sharing it with you. So don't give up, people. Don't give up in your dreams, and get support to make that a reality, to live a life that you love and to have that love of your life. And I do have a free workshop tomorrow.
Learn more about it.
It's called Fall in Love, How to Find Lasting Love. So that's totally free. If
And do you have a website that anybody that listens?
Yeah. It's drwendylyon.com, and go to the top. There's a little heart that says Fall in Love. Click on it.
And Amber?
I'm going to fall back on a oldie but a goodie, and that's a quote from Gandhi, which is be the change you want to see in the world. Because when we start acting in a way that is contributing to society, contributing to the world, contributing to others, that ripple effect is just so powerful. And it starts with us. We can't say, well, if someone else did something, or if something else happened. We're only in charge of ourselves. We can only control ourselves. So when we start acting in a way of kindness and integrity and respect and giving and loving, that's when we can really start to change the world.
Beautiful, beautiful. And we are the game changers, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Tanya?
Yeah, I would say that regardless of what is happening in your life, that we all have those really hard days, is to think of at least one thing that you can be grateful for. Because that will just help lift the energy around whatever it is that is going on. And again, with so much going on in the world, it can be easy to kind of get stuck in that. But there's always something that we can be grateful for, even at a micro level. And then that can grow into something else. And I would invite you to go ahead and scan my QR code, because I do have more resources on forgiveness and gratitude, including information about the gratitude movement. And so that's what I would leave with you.
Very, very good. Thank you. Thank you all for showing up today. For those that pick up or that have watched this or will be watching this, read the chapters. Just take the time. Don't speed through them. Maybe even ask the question as you pick up the book, what chapter is good for me today? And just let it open to the page that you need to read, the pages you may need to read. And really, for the six of us on this, it's a celebration. It's a day of acknowledging that you said yes, acknowledging that you participated in something which is really much bigger even than ourselves, and celebrate the fact that this book is out to the world now, and it has our message in it. And so thank you for each one of you for all your participation and how you show up. Thank you.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. Such a great group.
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, that concludes, and I'm going to stop the streaming.